Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit, because he was fucking useless.
Right, before we go any further, I am invoking a moratorium, as it were. A temporary ban, Tony. And that temporary ban is we shall not be referring to him as Jacko. We shall call him Mr. Jackson, just plain old Jackson, Mark Jackson, the gaffer, or indeed the head coach, but we will not be referring to him as Jacko, because I think, Tony, that implies a certain familiarity that I'm not comfortable with. Tony, can I just stop? I'd also like to invoke a temporary moratorium on stuffing your face with mince pies, quite literally, as I press the record button.
Oh. I was trying to eat it.
Oh, I'd talk
in the time that it took for you to say the Jacko thing. So
you've just said it, Tony. The thing I said,
I was referring to the Jacko thing.
Ah, right. Oh.
No, I agree. Absolutely agree. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it, Tony.
Yeah.
I think it diminishes the man's authority, Tony. I think
it does. Although I'm sure he doesn't care.
You think? I bet he does. He looks like the kind of guy that would take offence at something like that. He's quite...
Possibly. He's very northern.
Is he? Oh, you know what they're like, Tony. Blokes from up north. I wouldn't get on the wrong side.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So, did you have a good Christmas, buddy? Was it alright? I know, because I've spoken to you in between there and now, so I'm just giving the listeners an opportunity.
The usual. Mum and dad's for dinner and games. Football on Boxing Day. Yeah, so pretty much a standard Christmas, really. Yeah,
same here. My son came round, we had Christmas dinner. That was it. I went to the football on Monday, I seen you there. Yesterday, I went to Bicester Village and spent a stupid amount of money on clothes and shoes that I really didn't need. But you know what I'm like, Tony?
Yeah, that's the thing with Bicester Village. You're there now, so, you
honestly.
Know, you've got to spend the money.
Cracking stuff. I bought a couple of hoodies. I bought 2 pairs of shoes. I bought my wife a little top from All Saints. And I bought this astonishingly nice jacket, which I could only... People will have to look at it. It's sort of a blue... I'd best describe it as a blue sort of tartany thing. It's fantastic. It'll be. Is
that what you were wearing on Saturday, Monday?
No, I only bought it yesterday, so it's not seen light of day. I've not worn it in
whatever you were wearing on Monday. I liked that as well.
That is a Paul Smith coat. Ironically enough, also purchased from All Saints. That's a lovely coat, isn't it? That? It's a smasher. It's my favourite coat. Really
is a lovely coat.
It should be.
And by the way,
hello.
What man needs more than one pair of shoes?
Tony, I've got... You know what my feet are like. I have to be very careful, Tony. Extremely careful.
Surely trainers.
No. Well, I say they were like shoes. They were trainers. I got them from the Vans outlet shop at Bicester Village.
Oh, yeah, Vans. Can't go wrong.
No, not with Vans, Tony, no. Lovely they are. So there you go. That's what I've done. Spent stupid amounts of money on a load of clothes that I just don't really need. But, as I've said a minute ago, Tony, I'm a stylish man and I have to keep up appearances.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Carry on.
I think on the Mark Jackson...
And he's gone. Oh, I'm reconnecting. I'll cut this bit out. No one will hear this.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry, I think that was me. My internet just dropped to 0 then. Sorry, carry on. You were about to say on the Mark Jackson front.
Yeah, I'll be calling him the gaffer, or probably most likely the manager. Although he's the head coach, I don't really. Not that I don't believe in it. It's just easier to say manager.
No, I don't feel comfortable saying head coach when I could just say manager. I'm saying manager.
Yeah, exactly. Manager or gaffer for me. Possibly. I mean, manager or head or gaffer. Would do for me. Thank you very much for asking.
I might call him Jackson or Mr. Jackson, depending on how he's done. You know when I call him
Mr. Jackson's all right.
When I call him Mr. Jackson, you know we've done pretty badly because that's my stern voice. So there you go.
Yeah, that's it, Mr. Jackson. Uh-oh.
So then, Tony, the penultimate game of the year. What did you reckon?
The penultimate, or, if you like, the second last.
Second but last, yeah.
I would say that was not a very good game of football.
No, I would agree with you.
It could have been any of the 3 possible results.
It could have been
4 if you include abandonment, but that wasn't like to happen. Interestingly, although we had 68% of the possession,
yeah,
they had exact same amount of shots and shots on target as us.
Yeah, I've read the stats.
They actually had more corners as well.
It's a really odd thing because the game kicked off and there's a person that sits behind me and they're going like the game's going on and this is God's honest truth. I thought I'll remember this because this is just typical of Milton Keynes fans. The game had kicked off and we're playing and this person goes, oh, there we go, yeah, that's it, same old Milton Keynes, get a brand new manager and passing the ball backwards, sideways, nothing to it. I turned round and I looked at the clock and you know what it said on the clock? 1 minute and 33 seconds. So that's how much of
which is only slightly less time than he's actually been here, so
I thought to
not
myself,
really a lot that he could do about that, unfortunately.
I thought to myself, that's absolutely typical of Milton Keynes fans. Give the guy a chance, give him all of 1 minute and 34 seconds of a chance, but no, rubbish. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, you see, you need to pick up. You need to get names. We need to name these people.
I don't want to name them. If they listen to this, they know who they are.
Even for us, that's beyond ridiculous. That really is. Yeah, I thought that it wasn't a great game. They are clearly not a very good team, and we certainly weren't anywhere near any better, other than having a lot more possession. We still looked.
We don't look any different than we did before.
If we were playing a team of any great consequence, we might have got a kick. But having said that, 2 wins in a row now. There's, you cannot beat a bit of confidence going into the next game, which is going to be significantly harder, I would suggest, than the Monday was.
I would just like to say before we go any further, we've had a tweet from Fraser Wiley, and old Fraser has said that he missed the game in Boxing Day, and he's asked, did we see a difference in anything we did, accepting that Jackson, see there's a man there, he called him Jackson, didn't call him Jacko, so he's on my Christmas card list for next year. He said,
yeah, that's alright, Fraser, you'll have that.
He said Jackson had only 2 or 3 days and one of them was Christmas Day. I'll be honest with you, mate, no, I didn't see any difference at all. I didn't think we were any better or any worse than we've been recently. I thought we were just the same.
Yeah, to answer my own question of last week, I'm not even sure I did mention it, but they were in on Christmas Day. Apparently just for shape and the like.
Yeah, I would have been disappointed if you hadn't.
It's one game, it's a few days. We don't really know anything about him. The Leeds fans obviously speak very, very highly of him. But it's a completely different ball game, if you'll pardon the pun. Stepping up to being, the overall boss, manager, head coach, gaffer, whatever you want to call it. And he's got a lot of work to do if he's going to not just keep us up, but get us playing anything that's, I'm seeing these things about the MK way again.
Yeah, we're getting on that.
And people not knowing what the MK way is. It's difficult to quantify, but this is the weird thing about the way that teams play traditionally. Although we've only been around for 20 years, the way we play is very well defined and has been since, for me anyway, Martin Allen's time here. That's when it really started, and that carried on with Paul Ince and then through to Carl, and then if you forget completely, wipe it from your memory, Nielsen, Machichi, Tisdale. But, I mean, it was back to Russell Martin started it up again successfully. Liam Manning took that on leaps and bounds, obviously, and then this season, it's the first time, because we often talk about the championship season, and the football that we were playing was just as good as it was the season we got promoted, but we were deficient in many other areas. But the football was always fantastic, and we were, up until fairly fairly close to the end of the season, we were top of the possession table until we completely lost our heads and pretty much gave up. So that's the MK way. The MK way is what we've come to expect, isn't it? And that for me is as important as winning games, and possibly not as important as staying up this season. But for me, it is a really important aspect of it, and you come to expect it. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people aren't enjoying it, because they don't mind losing or not doing very well if the football's not bad. You know, you can always say, well, you know, what we need is just a few more goals, or we need another goal scorer, but the football's good. But it's not at the moment, and we know that. And that again was shown on Monday when, despite having that much possession, we really didn't do anything to impress anyone with what we did. The only thing I was impressed with, and I've said it earlier in the season as well, is Daniel Harvey is basically dragging us along by our bollocks really funny. This season.
Everyone around me
was passion. Even when he was sat directly in front of me when he came off. Well, I say sat. He was up and down, up and down, up and down, shouting and screaming at the fourth official, shouting and screaming at the lino. You know, he's totally 100% committed to this, and every single player in that squad who wants a place in that team, that's a good place to start. Look at Daniel Harvey and the way he is and how important it is to him. And you think about it, he's probably third or fourth most senior player now, isn't he?
The funniest thing about what you've just said is that everyone, and I'll include my son in this, was saying how utterly appalling he was. And I genuinely did turn round to my son and said, if he scores today, he's going to make you look really foolish, isn't he? And of course, he wasn't very good, was he,
Johnson
Tony?
Effect, eh?
Yeah.
Right, so explain this to me, right? Because we had this discussion at half-time. I wasn't the only person. Callum was of the same opinion, because he was actually looking at a post on the forum at the time, and someone saying Daniel Harvey is useless, he's done nothing, he's been a liability today. And I'm thinking, he gave away one pass, he played one bad pass.
I don't think he was a liability, but he wasn't good.
That bad throughout the rest of that first half.
It wasn't bad, Tony.
What he did wrong.
He wasn't bad, but he just wasn't good.
It's not just. Yeah, so it obviously is. It seems that a lot more people have the opposite opinion to me, but
I didn't think.
But that's besides the point.
I don't think he was very good. I mean,
his enthusiasm is what every single one of those players should be aspiring to.
You seen what it meant when he scored the goal, didn't you? I mean, he was ecstatic. He ran to the front of the cowshed. He's giving it the old fist pump and all that. But that, like I said a second ago, he wasn't bad. He just wasn't very good, was he? Apart from that goal, which, I mean, was a good strike. It was a good goal. You know, but apart from that, I don't.
But you could also say who else really put in you would call a good performance. No one really stood out, did they?
I can.
Well, obviously other than Jamie Cumming.
Yeah, those 2 point blank saves were outstanding, weren't they? Really?
Yeah.
Which is a good job he was there.
For their goalkeeper as well, because he pulled off a couple of, or 2 or 3 fantastic saves, particularly from Griggy's header, which, although it was right at him, he still managed to get his hands to it from that close and get it away from the goal. So it was a good day for goalkeepers. Yes.
It was. Getting back to the MK way, do you think if you were to play, let's say for example, I'm just going to pick a player out of thin air, Mo Isa, and you played him on the wing, would that help contribute to the MK way, Tony, do you think?
I would suggest that at this moment in time, there is a case to be made for us not being very good at having centre forwards.
Yes.
Because that doesn't seem to work. We've played Griggy up front on his own. We've played Griggy up front with another striker. We've played without Griggy, and we've played Dennis up there, and we've had a player in behind him, and it's this imbalance that I don't like. And I mentioned it at the very beginning of last season. I felt there was an imbalance with that winger, that fella from Wolves, whatever his name was, who everybody thought was wonderful.
Corbeanu,
who everybody thought was wonderful, but I just don't like, and I don't care what anybody says, I was right. As good as Corbeanu may have been, and he's clearly a decent player. You can't play, in my opinion, you can't put a team out that's got one winger. It's like a duck with one wing. You just keep going around in circles. A duck with one wing or one leg? One leg. I don't like the width with a centre forward, but you look at players like Marcus Rashford was a perfect example last night. Scored a goal, but never once played centre forward, although he was realistically the main sort of striking threat. He's always played out there. Some players do perform better out on the wing, but it does leave a hole in that middle. But we haven't done well this season playing with a traditional number 9 who's up there in the middle up front. It's not worked for us this season, and Mo likes the ball to his feet.
Yeah,
that gives him a bit more space to do that. There isn't that much. I mean, you look at the amount of times that he was coming in looking for the ball, and those are the sort of balls that and this is the big thing for me at the moment. And even the bloke behind me said this, so it must be clearly obvious to even the most stupid of person that our speed of passing is not very good at the moment. It's not quick enough. And Mo could have had a few diags into his feet on Monday very easily. I could see them from where I was sitting, and I could see that there were diags there that could have gone into Mo for him to run onto. Two problems with that were, one, the ball didn't come, and two, Mo wasn't really looking for it. The other thing for me, I think there's a certain amount of fear at the moment, and that can only be a confidence thing with the speed that we're playing at. When if you look at last season, what we were trying to play on Monday wasn't that different to what we were playing last season, because Forest Green aren't very good, so we stood out a little bit more. But if we're going to be successful and score goals and stay up this season and get to the dizzying heights of 12 perhaps, we're going to need to speed up the play. We're going to need to speed up the passing. And if that means that we move Mo out to give him a bit more space to manoeuvre himself around and get the boys down the wing, Daniel Harvey mainly. I mean, he was down that wing a lot more than he has been recently this season, a bit more like he was last season. So, in answer to your question, though, I don't like Mo being out on the right, not because it's Mo Isa, but because I think we should have a number 9. But I also don't like the imbalance of having one winger. And he wasn't either on Monday because he was the number 9, but he was also playing out wide. So
yeah, it didn't work.
It was a little bit. It was something different. But when he came off, he was absolutely dead on his feet, as was Daniel Harvey. So that was for them, that was what would have been a stroll for us last season.
It would have been
quite literally strolling about. It would have been a stroll for us last season, no problem at all. We won the game, but it was really, really hard work.
Yes,
and for me, if you could speed the game up, you could speed your passing up and make the other team do all the running rather than us huffing and puffing and scraping a 1-0. But it's going to take a lot of time. And I'm happy with the win. I'm very happy with 3 points, 6 points in the last 2 games as well.
It's a measure of how far we've fallen. I mean, that we're thinking that, we were lucky to just get a result there on Monday, when you think that. But it is it was his first game, wasn't it?
It's gone the opposite way, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's gone the opposite way to what I've always said about a team like last season's and the team that got promoted from League One to the Championship. A group of players can be greater than some of its parts if you give them the right information and the right instructions. They will produce the sort of football that we saw last season. However, it's the complete opposite this season. They are not even close to even the sum of their own parts at the moment. And it's not, again, necessarily through a lack of talent, as we know. It's just age, experience, confidence.
I think confidence is the biggest problem at the minute, isn't it? They just don't look very particularly like they believe that they're going to win, to be quite honest. Even on Monday,
they not just that, but they belief in their own ability to be able to do it. Because as I say, there were glimpses of it on Monday, but it was a slow motion version of what they were trying to play, and there was a certain hesitancy in a lot of the passing, but it was noticeable, that aside from one tackle by McEachran, who fortunately didn't go in the area, I think it was in the first few minutes as well. Did McEachran get booked? I can't remember, but
their guy was kicking off that he should have been sent off, wasn't he, their manager? So.
Oh, O'Hora. Yeah,
that was O'Hora,
yeah,
not McEachran.
Yeah, McEachran did get booked. Yeah, O'Hora. Yeah, I mean that on another day possibly, but I really don't think so. I think he's just grasping at straws there. To be honest, I don't think there was really that much in it.
There was a bit of handbags at the end, wasn't there?
That was that really.
There was a bit of handbags at the end with Watson, wasn't there, and another bloke? But it wasn't a dirty game, was it? There was no you weren't up on your feet, wagging your finger and shouting, "No, yellow card or awful."
What are you saying there? 15 fouls each, which is quite a lot.
But they weren't like malicious, Tony. Well, it wasn't like they weren't flying in studs up and feet first. Well,
no, and we had 4 players booked as well.
That's quite a lot, isn't it, for a game? I guess
it is. I mean, 5 is financially damaging territory. Yeah. But, I mean, they're all financially damaging in Football League, but they didn't have a player booked at all.
Didn't they?
Interesting.
Oh, right.
Oh, no, sorry, no, they had 2 booked.
I mean, it was...
My mistake.
It was a guy's first game. He'd been here quite literally 5 minutes, hasn't he? Well, not quite literally 5 minutes, but he'd been here 2 or 3 days, hasn't he? He's had limited time on the training field, so that was literally a sort of free hit for the guy, wasn't it? So the fact that we've gone into it, we've won, and we have actually reached Daniel Palmer's mythical 7 points out of those games, and one of them coming from a game we
weren't expecting it.
No, so we've done all right, really, and we've still got Peterborough to come tomorrow night, or tonight if you're listening to this. But it is.
But we have. Right. We've got that 7 points,
which I didn't think
we thought was achievable from those games over that period. So we've got, effectively based on the Daniel Palmer scale, we've got 2 free hits coming up in, I think.
So when you think about it, I mean, we're still in the relegation zone, but we were briefly out of it. For Cambridge getting
out
a
of
result.
It very briefly, which was nice. I was very excited.
I mean, it was all right.
But again, our goal difference could count for a lot at the end of the season.
We need to start banging them in then.
The teams below us are heftily behind us. I mean, Burton are the best off. They're still 5 goals behind us. Forest Green minus 25. Morecambe minus 17, Akron and above us minus 11, and Cambridge minus 12. So, if it comes to getting back into or out of the relegation zone, it could well be on goal difference if we do manage it at some point between now and the end of the season, which would be nice to do that and be there. I mean, at this point, would you be happy to finish 20th?
Well, this is a good point. Without knowing what's coming? Because old Fraser Wiley has subsequently sent another tweet, and it's a 2-parter, but I'll give you the second part, because the first part's a funny one for later on. And he said, finally, as we reach the halfway season, what are our predictions for league finish? Like you say, I would be happy to finish 1 point above the relegation zone at the minute. I think that would be a massive result for us, given how this season's gone so far, which has been fucking very bad.
Well, I'm the ultimate optimist,
you are,
as you
Tony,
know, and
indeed.
My renewed optimism after Monday has resurfaced. My unwarranted optimism, it should be pointed out, but I'm going to be less than my usual optimistic self. But I'm still going to say we'll finish 18th, and I'll be happy, with that.
I mean, I would be happy to just not get relegated, to be quite honest, because I genuinely think even at this minute that's still a serious possibility. I think it's going to help us to have a new head coach, manager, whatever he is. I think that will help us, because I'm hoping, and from what I've seen and what I've read, that this guy's got a bit more fight about him, than the last guy.
Not just that, but it's a new set of eyes. And looking at the players that we've got, and he will, despite what anybody might say, including himself or any other manager, he'll have been looking at that before he's taken the job, and he'll have watched some videos and games of ours, and he'll be looking at that and thinking, well, he's not getting in the starting lineup.
No.
He'll be lucky to make the bench. He'll definitely be starting. But He won't know that for sure until we've played a few games and he's seen what. But again, as I said last week, the honeymoon period, new manager bounce thing, it is real because players will start playing because they're going to be fighting for their place. No one's really guaranteed a place in the team, and it's entirely down to him to decide who his favourites are and who his first names on the team sheet will be. And he will have them in his head, but at the moment, the first names on the team sheet idea are somewhat limited when you think that you're probably looking at O'Hora, Daniel Harvey, I suppose Zach Jules to a certain extent.
Watson.
Jack Tucker, I thought, was a little bit dodgy again on Monday.
I'd say Watson.
Watson, if he gets back fully in fitness, and I'll be happy because he's a strong player. He can get down that wing as well, but he can also get back quickly and fill in at right back. And there's a lot to be said about those players, but then what about the rest of them? What does that leave you?
We can't replace them. We can't replace all of them next month, can we?
You can't replace them all. No. I mean, you might be able to bring in 2 or 3,
maybe even 4 at a push if you're lucky, but we can't replace what the shape we've got. He's got to get on and make a cake with the ingredients he's been given. God, that's an appalling metaphor, isn't it? Even by my standards, I'm going to cut that bit out.
Did you hear what the chairman said?
No,
basically he said, "You're all shit."
They're all shit. Yeah,
you're all shit.
He did. Well done.
It's not. I've not given him a lot to work with. Is pretty much what he said. So
well done.
I thought that's very
honest.
That's very very honest.
He's been listening to this, Tony. I reckon.
I'm surprised.
Man.
I'm surprised I printed that, but it was an interesting insight into from the point of view of being a fan as well, because despite what you might say about him at the moment and the way the club is being run and all the other stuff that we've been moaning about all season, he is a fan and he cares about it as much, and that's what I like about it, is that all the way through the club you've got people who follow the club, and a lot of them are youngsters and some of them are older, but they're fully invested in it now, and you would hope they would be after 20 years, but it was a little bit. I was a bit surprised, but
I was surprised.
In not so many words, he said, "Here's a pile of shit, or here's a turd. Go and polish it."
It was unusual, but it is what it is. I mean, it's about time he started saying stuff like that. But obviously, if you're in that dressing room, you're going to be thinking, "He's talking about me, isn't he? I'm one of them." You just know he is.
But that's how they should be thinking. It should be, now. And they should be feeling bad.
They should be
about the way that they played for Liam Manning as well, because it's not. He was also trying to do the best with what he's got.
Yep.
And it was chopping and changing and different starting 11s. And there was a point where we thought, we've got an almost first choice starting 11 here, and Louis Barry was getting a few games, but then he's very young still, so he's not going to be able to play all those games. And then you've got other players like Jack Tucker. Harry Darling came in, didn't he? Slotted in perfectly.
Yeah.
No sort of bedding in period. He was straight in, and it was great. Jack Tucker's come in. Obviously, it's very difficult to compare anybody, and I'm not being disrespectful to Jack Tucker, but Harry Darling is an exceptionally good player.
You would have to ask yourself,
but the rest
Tony,
of them.
You would have to ask where Matt Dennis is and what's he done to piss everyone off. I don't understand that. I thought whenever he plays, I mean, he's not prolific, but he's strong and he's pretty fast. So I don't get why. I don't know, unless there's something. I don't know, this mythical attitude problem or whatever.
Something, because
must be.
He's ridiculously speedy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that we've ever had a player as fast as him.
No,
especially over 5-10 yards.
He's pretty fast
but
for a big fella.
There's got to be something in that.
Because you would start him, wouldn't you?
I don't generally go along with that sort of thing. It generally comes down to what they do in training and how they're feeling.
There must be something.
It just seems like a bit of a fragile personality. I don't know.
There must be something, because you wouldn't not play a player of that quality, would you, when you're struggling? There must be something. But I don't know, that's what it is. That's the only one I could pick out of thin air. I mean, what's his name? Oyagoki just seems to have disappeared, and I'll be honest with you, and I don't hate to have to say it, I'm fucking glad, because he was a liability, that kid, he really was. He was dreadful, him. Terrible.
Well, he wasn't in the squad on Monday.
No.
He did play in the
He played in that last cup thing, didn't he?
JPT, didn't he? The Pizza Cup game, I think. Well, I know he came on the sub in the one at home.
Well, speaking about players, Tony, that you've taken against, what did you think of old matey whose name I can't remember now? The one we don't like, but it's been really good. Oh, God, I can't think of his name now.
Bradley Johnson, that's a man. He was good on Monday, wasn't he? He really was. Yeah, well, I suppose if you're going to pick somebody that, aside from Jamie Cumming, who looked decent, you could possibly go for him. But at the same time, I wasn't astounded by.
No, he wasn't outstanding, but I mean, he was better than he's been, hasn't he? He was better than he's been recently. He was. Yeah, there you go.
Haaland almost scored already after 36 seconds.
Who was? Sorry.
Haaland nearly scored after 36 seconds.
I've not got it on. I'm recording the Rangers game, so I've gone radio silence so that when this is finished, I can sit and watch it. So I don't know if it'll be any good.
All right, I'll stay quiet then.
Right, that's us finished. Shall we get into the emails and like tweets that we got or what?
Yeah. So I do. We got a late one from Ross.
Oh, go on.
Who's clearly rather disappointingly sober.
Oh, no, so don't read it out then.
I don't know where he's got this from, because bearing in mind he hasn't been to a game for about 12 years.
He's not been for a while.
He said another thing the club need to sort out is the phone signal. The mobile signal at the stadium is appalling. They need to provide Wi-Fi. I've got great 5G signal in rural Ireland, but not at all in the stadium. As Drogba said, it's an effing disgrace. The phone signal is 5G at the stadium, and there's posts generally dotted about the place. It's just sheer weight of numbers,
that is,
Ross, and it's nothing to do with.
But like when we played,
if you get there at 2 o'clock,
it's brilliant.
No problem at all. You can have phone signal all the time, and it's interesting again because I did actually go back to Gate 5 till about 2:30, and it's always interesting to see people walk in, they get their phone out, they scan. But as soon as it goes sort of past 2:20, you see people just standing around holding their phones trying to get a signal. So it's nothing to do with the phone signal at the stadium, right? It's just sheer weight of numbers.
I had no problem at all on Monday, but when we played Leicester, I just couldn't get a signal at all. So like you say, I
couldn't even get the Wi-Fi.
No. And being minor celebrities, Tony, that we have got the Wi-Fi password, haven't we? But even that wasn't working, so I guess it's just like you said, sheer weight of numbers. So yeah, and I tell you what, Ross, see if you can only get a good signal in rural Ireland. Stay in rural Ireland, mate. Quite honest with you.
Yeah, well, bully for you, mate.
Yeah, well,
he says the off-pitch experience being crap puts people off coming back. He's just reciting what we've been saying for the last.
He's not been since Christ left Kilmarnock, has he? You know, just. That's what it is.
Exactly, but there you go. Oh, talking of which, off pitch and so on. Did you sample the delights of the ballroom on Monday?
I did not do that, Tony. No, I didn't. No.
No, I did a little sort of for my own amusement, an observation at half time. So
did you make notes, Tony?
As you know, I leave my seat at 38 minutes on the dot. I go and grab Gordon. He struggles up the stairs. That's why I have to go him at 38 minutes because although he sits 6 foot away from the doors to the Club Red bar.
He's an elderly gentleman.
It takes him the other 7 minutes to get to the bar. So I sat down. We sat down with our pints, and half-time whistle went, and it filled up very quickly. And I saw a couple that I know come in and stood at the bar. Now, when I went to the bar to get mine and Gordon's drinks, I noticed that they rather cleverly, so they thought, because they thought it was a very good idea, they had 4 members of staff behind the bar.
4, you say, Tony. 4.
4 members of staff, which is not a bad number, right?
It's a good number, Tony.
However,
it's an even number.
Still, one fucking card machine.
I can tell you're not happy,
so what did they do? What did they do?
Pass that about between
they took
themselves.
one of those staff out of rotation, just so they could take the card payments.
Ah, it's poor.
And
planning,
anyway, I've sat there with me pint, and it's been about 5 or 6 minutes since half-time whistle again. This couple stood at the bar. I said to Gordon, I'm going for a vape. So I went downstairs outside the hotel, chatting to my brother-in-law, and you never quite know how long it is, when you're vaping.
No, I never do. No, I've never vaped.
Probably a good
can imagine.
7 or 8 minutes later again, I'm back upstairs. Sat down, had my pint, turned round, and the couple was still at the bar.
That's poor, that.
The best part of 13, 14 minutes later, they were still at the bar.
That's poor, Tony.
That particular bar in Club Red has had one card reader for as long as I've been going in Club Red.
It's quite weird that the club make a big thing about it being a cashless stadium and they can only muster one card reader for the fucking drinks. So.
Yeah, but also to put 4 bar staff on, only give them one reader, and then take one out just so that one person can... I mean, it did, to a certain extent, it may well have reduced the amount of time people waited to pay because they were shouting like 2 pints of Guinness and a Beck's,
packet of crisps,
and she would type it in and go and take the cup. But what's the point of having 4 bar staff when you've only got one card reader and then you take one out just purely to take
it's not good enough, Tony.
the card payments?
Right, I've got a question here.
So I doubt anybody will be listening to this, but because I've been moaning about that bar in Club Red forever. I mean, I've moaned directly, personally, at great length to Andy Cullen about it, and he didn't take any notice.
Right.
As I say, that's one thing he wasn't really bothered about. But
right, let's go.
So anyway,
the funny questions now.
Tomorrow.
A funny questions, Tony. Never mind tomorrow. I've got loads of ones first. I've follow up from Fraser Wiley, and he says, "What was the worst, most unusual, or pointless Christmas gift you were given this year?" I didn't get a lot this year.
I don't get a lot for Christmas.
No, I didn't. I'm a 60-year-old man. I said to people, I don't want anything, so I didn't really get anything, to be quite honest, No.
I'll tell you what I did get. I got the black shirt with my name on the back.
Oh, good on. What, the new one?
The new one, yeah.
With all the white marks on it? Oh, nah. Well, that's quite pointless, isn't it?
I'm gonna get number 10 put on the back of it tomorrow.
Why 10?
But other than that, it was Smellies.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, my daughter bought me a really nice, Trojan.
I do.
The clothing company.
No, I don't know. I thought you meant the record label.
I've had. Well, yeah. It's effectively along those lines anyway.
Right.
Trojan makes sort of mod gear.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean now you've said it. Yeah.
You know the sort of stuff I'm talking about.
As a record label, isn't it?
Ben Sherman type.
Yeah, I know.
That sort of stuff. So Trojan makes some lovely gear, and they do this short sleeve quarter zip top, and I've had my eye on it for a while, but it's 65 quid. Went into Next, and they've got it in there for 28, and so my daughter said, well, I'll get you that for Christmas. And so that was probably the highlight along with the shirt, but the rest was pretty much, Smellies.
I didn't want anything. The only thing I asked for was I asked for a flamboyant scarf, which you may or may not have noticed, Tony, that I was wearing on Monday afternoon, so that was the only thing I really wanted.
I was distracted by your coat, to be fair.
I asked for a really loud scarf. I chose it myself. I got it out of John Lewis about a month ago. It's a lovely thing. I shall be wearing it. If you see me and you think, Christ, look at that bloke scarf, you'll know it's me. That was about it.
And a flamboyant scarf,
yeah,
I like it. Have they got a flamboyant scarf department?
They have in John Lewis. This way for flamboyant scarves. Right, I've got another one. Speaking of Lewis, oh man, you're going to love this link. This is from Robert Lewis. What do you reckon to that? That's pretty good, isn't it? I didn't even really think of that. I know Robert has asked, what has been our highlight and lowest moment of the season so far? I ain't got any highlights, to be quite honest.
Very good question, because I can't think of any.
I can't think of any highlights. I'd say our lowest...
As a personal highlight would be a weekender in Morecambe.
Yeah, I ain't got any highlights.
With the added bonus of a 4-0 win. Lowest moments.
It's just been a low point right up until this minute, to be quite honest. There's been nothing that's grabbed my attention.
Well, yeah, since the last week of July.
There's been fuck all, to be quite honest with you, Robert.
I was trying to think, what would be a low point?
It's all been a low point. There's been no good points this season. Nothing at all. Nothing. I'm sorry. I hate to be so pessimistic.
I'm trying to quickly scanning through our results to try and maybe losing 2-0 to Bolton. at home.
I think the biggest thing,
And just,
the biggest
I think that was when we realised that actually, do you know what?
We're fucked.
We might be in trouble here.
I think
And
the
then we
biggest
went and lost to
disappointment for
Exeter.
me was old matey from Celtic rocking up. I can't even say his name now. Scott Brown rocking up, and you just think, from a personal point of view, I cannot lose to this guy, and of course, inevitably we did. That was sort of that right there when we lost to them. That was the moment I thought Manning's has to go now because this can't continue. I think that's probably the lowest for me. You know, there's been no high points for me, none at all. Even when we've won, I think apart from the 4-0 at Morecambe, every other win we've had has been. I mean, we did all right against Portsmouth, didn't we? We did fine against Charlton, but apart from that, there's been nothing to get excited about. Nothing at all, you know.
Yeah, I could say Watford early on was a nice one, but yeah, just looking for our results, they're now coming back to me. So losing at home to Bristol Rovers, that was pretty poor.
Yeah, that was
losing
poor,
away to Shrewsbury. That was losing at home to Wickham.
He's asked us
losing at home to Peterborough. Yeah, so there's plenty. I couldn't pick one out of that.
He's asked us if we think we can avoid relegation, but we've answered that earlier on. He then goes on to ask us who has been our best and most disappointing player this season. They've all been disappointing, mate, to be quite honest. Our best player, I would say our best player.
Best player, Daniel Harvey, by a mile for me.
I'm going to choose Matt Dennis just because I feel a bit sorry for him, to be quite honest.
He is the sort of player you feel sorry for, isn't he?
And then he asked us what our favourite game has been this season. I'm going to say Portsmouth just for the sheer fact that I thought we were going to go there and get battered. So I'm going to say that.
I would say my favourite result, aka our best result, was that Portsmouth the Portsmouth result. But I think Monday's result in the context of our season so far, and off the back of that win at Portsmouth, and the fact that we kept a clean sheet as well against a team that had 15 shots or 14 shots, that I think that's a massive 3 points, as they say. That
he then asks. Go on. He then asks.
Just the excitement and the joy that the players seem to take from that is very important as well.
Quite exciting. He then asks what our best ground visited is. That's easy for me. That's Cambridge, because it's the only one I've been to be quite honest.
What, this season?
I guess, yeah, we're talking this season, not this year.
Oh, this season. Oh, yeah. I mean, only again because I'm swayed by the weekend away would be Morecambe. And as I did actually leave a nice review on Google.
What did you say? Well done you for having a football ground.
For it. Just said that for a ground that I thought was going to be a bit of a disappointment, the leg room was actually very good. And at my age,
you're big on leg room, Tony. I know that.
Leg room is a big issue for chaps like us. And it was easy to get to. Yep. It was, again, the weather was really nice, and I was away on a weekend. It was a really good weekend, but. Yeah, Morecambe. I like Cambridge as well.
I had a good day at Cambridge. Really, it was early into the season. Well, it was really early because it was the first game, and it was we went by coach. Me and my son went for lunch before the game. I had a couple of pints. I was pretty ill that day, to be quite honest. I mean, I've been really ill this year. Probably talk about that again a bit towards the end, but it was all right. I mean, it's the only one I've been to. It just is what it was. I mean, it was an all right game.
I actually think. Cambridge and Morecambe might be the only away games I've been to this season.
They are.
Do you know what? I've got a feeling they are the only two I've been to.
And finally, he asks who were the best away fans. I'm going to say Derby, to be quite honest. I thought they were excellent.
Derby's fans were very loud. Yeah. Sheffield Wednesday, not as loud as they have been in previous years. But yeah, Derby fans were loud. I think it does tend to be. I know Derby have been here before, but that was when we were in the Championship as well. So, I'd go with Derby. I think they were probably best. An honourable mention to the Morecambe fans that turned up on a Tuesday night. And who was it the other week? Was it Fleetwood?
Fleetwood was a Saturday, wasn't it?
That was a Saturday, yeah.
But it was an early
kickoff.
Yeah,
honourable mention to the Morecambe fans that turned up.
That was an early kickoff. There was one that was an early kickoff, wasn't there? That because of the World Cup, 12:30.
Oh, the Burton one, yeah.
Yeah, well done to them. So, Old Robert then goes on to ask our favourite thing, not football related. What has been your favourite TV show that either continued airing into 2022 or started this year? That's easy for me. The best telly this year has been Better Call Saul.
I'm going to have to revisit that as an aside. I rewatched several things. I rewatched The Wire this year.
Oh man, that's my favourite television programme by some considerable distance. Yeah. I love that.
I rewatched Fleabag.
I've started rewatching The West Wing yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't really. My attention span is so poor at the moment. I've tried to watch over the holiday period. I've tried to watch several films and TV shows.
I've watched a shitload of things
just
this
ended
year.
up on my phone. I've just not got the attention span. The internet has ruined me completely.
That's quite funny because old Robert goes on to ask us what our favourite movie that we've either just got around to seeing for the first time this year or was released this year. That's also easy for me. The best film released this year was The Banshees of Inisherin. If you've not watched that, stop what you're doing right now and go and watch it. It is an astonishingly good film. It's one of the best films I've ever seen. It's quite literally that good.
What's it called?
The Banshees of Inisherin. It's got 2 Irish guys in it. It's it's brilliant. Go and watch it. It's great. I tell you what else I watched this year.
The Banshees of something or other.
Inisherin, yeah, it's brilliant. It's just a great film. I tell you what else I watched this year, which I really didn't want to watch, and I'm glad I did because I didn't think it would be my thing. Have you seen the Elvis film?
No, I've heard mixed reviews.
It's pretty good, Tony. It is good. It's better than I thought it was going to be. He's brilliant in it, old matey Austin Butler as the eponymous Heat King. It's great. Really good.
I tried to watch The Batman the other day.
Oh, mate. Jesus Christ. That is a shit film, that is. That's a terrible film, isn't it, that? Dreadful.
Like dark, moody much?
Yes.
Then that's your thing.
That's your thing.
And it was raining. I mean, was it filmed in Manchester or something?
It was filmed in Liverpool.
I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing, but...
Filmed in Liverpool, Tony. During the pandemic.
Well, it rained a lot.
I tell you, another film I watched the other day...
that could have been studio rain.
I tell you, another film I watched the other day, which was quite good, was The Glass Onion, the follow-up to Knives Out, starring Daniel Craig. That's good. Watch that. That's brilliant.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
right,
really,
that was
really
on
good.
my list. So what I've basically done is I've watched all the same films again. So I watched How'd You Like Them Apples? That one. Good Will Hunting. I watched that again. I watched that all the way through.
Oh, right.
And I also watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off for the I don't know how many times now, and also Pulp Fiction again.
Oh, Pulp Fiction. You can't beat that.
Could be well into the probably 20, 30 times I've watched that.
That's one of my
favourites. All right, so Glass Onion and this Banshees of it.
Inisherin. It's brilliant,
Banshees
Tony.
thing, yeah.
Watch that first.
Well, I'm just looking at the reviews, 98% positive, so...
Don't you?
Yeah, I think I will give that a watch. So what is it on... is it a streaming service?
If you've got a dodgy streaming, I'll send you a link to it. I don't worry. Let's just say I didn't pay to watch it, Tony. Shall we say that?
All right, okay. Well, I won't be doing that because
you're an honest man.
I worry about hackers stealing my washing. So.
And anyway, just before we wind this up, Robert Lewis has finally asked us: has 2022 taught us anything new? No. It's taught me that life just continues.
Genuinely not.
No.
Genuinely. In fact, I learned something about myself, but I didn't learn anything of any great use.
No, I haven't. I think that life just continues. This is a great time of year, isn't it, for people saying, right, this time I'm going to start. It's a load of bollocks. You know, people start doing these things, don't they? Like, I'll give up drinking. I'll only drink. I won't drink on a school night.
It's just another day of the week, isn't it? It's just another day of the week.
I mean, it sounds terrible, really, but I am like a really cynical 60-year-old man. I'll go back to work next Tuesday or whenever it is, and it'll be exactly the same as it was when I left back in, last week. Nothing will have changed, It's just life. There are no great moments, are there? You can't just say it's just a shit thing. People make these resolutions every year. I said to my wife today, no, we're not making any New Year resolutions because you don't keep them and they're a load of shite anyway, aren't they, you know? Like, oh, I'll do this, I'll go out running, I'll go out jogging. You want?
Have you ever kept a New Year's resolution?
I've not,
if you've ever made one.
I don't think I've ever made one, Tony, to be quite honest. It's not my kind of thing, you know. I'm shrugging my shoulders. No, I can't think of ever making one or ever, like you say, if I did make one, I can't remember keeping it, to be quite honest, you know.
Yeah, I mean, best intentions and all that. Yeah. But, no, I'm very much the same. I don't really go for that sort of thing, and it's not really something that bothers me. But
no, me neither, you know.
There are certain things as I'm getting older, I'm thinking, I do need to start looking after myself a bit better and
I've given up on that shit. You know,
exercising more, lose weight, get a woman, get 2 women would be nice as well.
That would be handy,
but they might get upset if I have 2 at a time, but
well,
I'll settle for 1 at the moment.
You can alternate them, Tony.
So if you're any females listening, or males, not interested in the males, but if you have any friends of a certain age who are looking for...
Have you got an age range, Tony, that you would like to put out there before we finish for this year?
What, any requirements?
No, an age range, Tony.
An age range? Oh, no, not really. I mean, I'm 51, but I don't feel it, and so I'm thinking anything from 30 up to 55. I don't know. I mean,
God, you're leaving yourself.
I really don't know. It's not about the age thing for me. It's the
personality that counts for you, Tom.
Well, yeah. You see, I'm too old now to have sex. Apparently, my kids have told me so.
Oh, there you go. Right, shall we wind this up then for the year?
Well, we need to do predictions because we get
2 games.
We're not recording next week, are we? Or are we?
We are on Wednesday, aren't we? We'll have 2 games to do, won't we?
Yeah, I thought that actually meant to ring you to ask you if we were recording
next
tonight.
Wednesday. Yeah.
But we are recording
next Wednesday,
tonight, as you can tell. So Peterborough tomorrow.
I'm going 0 each for that.
0 each, right?
Bold prediction, but I think it's a valid one.
That sounds decent. Oh, I'm not going to give us a goal because I don't think we'll score one. So I'll take a clean sheet and a draw.
Yes.
0-0, 1 point. Thank you very much. And then Plymouth Argyle, top of the table, flying again, got their form back.
I made a New Year resolution. I've just made it about 5 seconds ago, and that New Year resolution is to say that we won't lose a game. So I'm going to say we won't lose that.
Well, it's not really down to you to keep that, is it?
No, I'm going to say...
It's not really in your control.
We're not going to lose that one, Tony. I'll say that. That's me done.
Right, I'll have another 0-0 there. Actually, I think it's the Wednesday. So we'll be recording on the 6th.
No,
second, third, 4th. We'll be recording on the 4th. But then we haven't got another game till the 14th of January.
Yeah, there's a big gap, so that's good.
We won't be recording on the 11th.
No, because of the FA Cup. So there you go.
Yeah.
So we'll be recording next Wednesday.
But we will be back next week.
Yes, and then we'll have a big gap. So I can only finish by wishing everyone a happy new year.
Yep, and good luck to Jacko.
You've just done it, Tony. You've done it. The one thing we said.
Oh, no!
See, you should make a New Year resolution, Tony. And that New Year resolution is...
Mention Jacko.
Don't call him Jacko.
Don't say Jacko.
Right, there's, like we had last week, there was a bit of a musical treat. There's another I say musical treat. It's not particularly a treat. But there is a different ending song this week, so stay tuned for that. And like we say, we'd like to wish everyone a happy new year, because this one's been a bit shit so far, hasn't it, really? Right, we're done. I think that's us. See you next year. That sounds odd, doesn't it, Tone? See you next year.
See you next Wednesday, sorry.
Is it? Right, we're done. See you, bye. I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm nobody big and I'm off the Shire. I see shout when I go by. Down, where's your cruisers? Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of my kilt I'll go. All the lassies say, how? Down, where's your cruisers? That lassie took me to the ball, and it was the bray in the hall. I'd a feared that I would fall, but I had me on my cruisers. cruisers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of McGilltown go. All the lassies say, "Hello, Donald, where's your cruisers?" Now I went down to London town and had some fun on the underground. The ladies turned their heads around, saying, "Donald, dry your trousers." Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of McGilltown go. All the lassies say, "Hello, Donald, where's your cruisers?" To wear the kilt is my delight. It's not wrong, I know it's right. The Highlanders would get afraid if they saw me in the cruisers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of McGilltown go. All the lassies say, "Hello, Donald, where's your cruisers?" The lassies want me, everyone. Well, let them catch me if they can. Can they catch a Highland man? I don't wear the cruisers. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of McGilltown go. All the lassies say, "Hello, Donald, where's your cruisers?" I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm nobody big and I'm awfully shy. Lassies shout when I go by, "Hey, Donald, where's your cruisers?" Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low. Through the streets of McGilltown go. All the lassies say, "Hello, Donald, where's your cruisers? Donald, where's your cruisers? Donald, where's your cruisers?"